welcome up to our virtual stage, Nick Lovell.
All right, thank you all. Thank you, Chloe, for such a wonderful introduction, even if I did write it myself. Trying to be funny, it's always difficult, especially at such a weird time. We've got President Trump and Boris Johnson between them, who have become like the Chuckle Brothers, except much funnier, provided you're not on the receiving end. So, yes, let's see if we can inject a little bit of fun into tonight. My first poem, it's one I tend to use to open sets just because it kind of tells you everything you need to know about me. I wrote it when I was a Greyhound commentator, mainly because despite my repeated requests, they wouldn't let me do the commentaries in the form of little poems. So I thought I'd turn it on its arse and do a poem in the form of a Greyhound commentary. It's called The Race for His Life. Ladies and gentlemen, there's 1 minute's betting remaining until the race of his life. The hare is running, the hare's approaching the traps, and snap! The hare is caught in a trap, just like Elvis Presley. Now, back to the race. And they're off. It's bewildered Nick making all the running as they head towards the first bend of many. This youngster is making ground against potty training, preschool, infancy, and an introduction to the basics of capitalism through playground economics. A little bumping from masturbation, self-loathing, and puberty as they go into the second bend. But it's bewildered Nick, still tight on the rails as they head on to the back straight, leading by a length for immaturity with insecurity, bad decisions, unemployment, and an unsuitable girlfriend all gaining on him. Bewildered Nick still leading by some good head from a girl he met at the nightclub, and a kicking from her boyfriend half an hour later, closely followed by sympathy, a series of dates, cohabitation, and an unexpected wedding. As they go into the third bend, it's bewildered Nick losing ground now to 2 kids, a mortgage, depression, disaffection with his job, and a nagging fear of failure. It's bewildered Nick still leading by a neck from redundancy with midlife crisis making a move and depression still in and out of the pack as they go into the fourth and final bend. Middle age falling away to be passed by. You're an old bastard now. Nostalgia, confusion and minor regrets also coming into running as they race down the home straight towards the finish. It's bewildered Nick from grandchildren with not enough exercise, too many fags, and both your parents died from cancer, you fucking idiot, as they hurtle towards the line. Retirement, boredom and longing for release, now fighting for position with mild incontinence and unusual smells. But it's bewildered Nick clinging on to the lead with death close behind as they race the last couple of metres to the line. It's bewildered Nick from death, bewildered Nick from death, and it's bewildered Nick and death neck and neck as they cross the line for a photo finish. A photo finish there between bewildered Nick and death.
Ooh.
And we have the results of the photo, ladies and gentlemen. The winner is Death. Death wins by 1 length. Death always wins by exactly 1 length. Thank you. All right. Having gone with a golden oldie and a classic, I thought I'd do something that I wrote quite recently, and it kind of follows on from that poem because I've reached that age where the adverts on the TV and popping up on the computer, they've changed from gyms and shit like that to funeral plans and life insurance and Stanner fucking stair lifts. So my thoughts have turned towards retirement homes and things like that because at the moment they're bloody horrible places. They're all grey with people sort of gently merging into the upholstery. It's got to change for my generation, I'm afraid, and this is kind of the manifesto for what we want. It's the retirement home of the future once the boomers have all died. But don't expect grey hair and tweed if you venture on inside. There's fashion sense and multicolour, Mohican skins and dreads. Because we might be knocking on a bit, but we're not the living dead. We're not the sort for a tea dance, you've got to understand. Get us DJs, get us MCs, get some dealers, and get us a proper hard rock band. We might be old, but our hearts are young. We're Generation X. We want what's left to be like the past, full of booze and drugs and sex. There'll be orgies in the day lounge, cocaine lines across the table, 3 grandad gimps in the corner down on their knees in front of Mabel. And the sex swing comes in handy for those that have had a hip-hop, and the whole scene set to the sweet, sweet sound of some dirty 90s hip-hop. We're banned from having Mandy. Our own fault, I must confess. The staff say it makes us randy and they can't cope with all the mess. And matrons had a breakdown. It's all got far too much. After a midnight call from Dirty Dave to take a Hoover tube from his crotch. We used to go skinny dipping on nice warm summer's nights till the sight of our naked bodies in the gloom gave the Sea Scouts such a fright. And when relatives come to visit, we got to be good and nice and proper. We can't even have a crafty spliff because Skinhead Steve's son, he's a copper. You see, I've seen the grim alternative, dying slowly, inch by inch, bereft of joy, beset by pain. That's a fate from which I flinch. They say that the important thing is to age with dignity. Well, that might be all right for some, but that's not the way for me. So let's grow weed out in the greenhouse, brew potsheen in the shed, and make the most of the time we're left because you're a fucking long time dead. Come and join our wrinkly rave up. Don't go gentle to that dark night. And we'll drink and we'll laugh and we'll dance and we'll sing till our very last twilight. Thank you.
Yes.
Now, comedy poetry, it's a terrible thing. It's possibly the most insidious form of poetry because it spreads things. You get shit like Captain Beaky that everyone laughs at, and all of a sudden people are doing poetry without realising it. And it's the kids I feel sorry for. Everyone laughs at, and all of a sudden people are doing poetry without realising it. Hello? It's the kids I feel sorry for. Poetry, it's a terrible thing. I'm getting feedback on my mic here at a 10-second interval, so I'll just turn that down. Right, so anyway, this poem is about that very problem, and it's about the kids. We've got to think about the kids. It's called We Need to Talk About Kelvin. I'm sorry to disturb you, but this is important. I was going to leave it, but knew that I oughtn't. Ignore all the signs and the terrible rhymes. I think that your child might have poetry. There's no need to panic or get all alarmed. There's no evidence anyone's ever been harmed by a bee in their bonnet for writing love sonnets, but it means that your child may have poetry. Their life could be normal. You never can tell, although all the signs point to lyrical hell. Perhaps unlike the rest, if we all try our best, we can save him from the horrors of poetry. There's lots of support, both at school and at home, so please don't despair, you're not all alone. People don't understand about this scourge across the land as more kids are turning to poetry. You'll have to be ruthless. Ignore dirty looks as you drag your child screaming from the poetry books. It might seem like it's hurting, but we have to be certain your child isn't doing more poetry. Not even a limerick, definitely no rap. If they utter a half rhyme, then give them a slap. Through tough love, you will find being cruel to be kind should save them from a lifetime of poetry. Now, free verse is the danger, for nobody knows really a poem or just well-written prose. So to save all the fighting, just ban them from writing and stop your child doing more poetry. But be warned, there still isn't a reliable cure. While they may seem much better, you'll never be sure. They're not constructing fine rhymes in the backs of their minds. So stop, listen, and I really mean listen. Then stand up and applaud your child's poetry. Thank you. Absolutely terrifying. I turned the mic down. I was thinking, dear God, to silence. Right.
That was. It's all right. That was.
This next one was written when I was going through a bit of a dry spell. Real writer's block. There was about 3 months I didn't write a damn thing, and it was doing my head, and I couldn't even. There was nothing. There wasn't even a little bit of something. And so to try and beat it, I sat down and thought, I'll pull up YouTube, watch videos of my favourite poets, and with necessity that fell to being quite a lot of John Cooper Clarke, and it kind of worked. I started writing stuff, but then everything I wrote sounded like I was trying to be John Cooper Clarke. I'd write something down, it's like, oh Jesus Christ, that's Beasley Street. I'd write something else, it's like, oh my God, that's Reader's Wives. I'd write something else, it's like, oh for God's sake, that's Hire Car. And eventually I thought, I'm not going to fight it anymore. Might as well go with it, see what happens. So this is written as an homage to John Cooper Clarke's evidently Chicken Town, and it's called No Escape from Chicken Town. Woke up with a bloody yawn, saw the crack of bloody dawn, feeling just like bloody shit. Years since my last bloody hit. Bloody ups and bloody downs, running round and bloody round. The sky's a shade of bloody brown. I'm stuck in bloody Chicken Town. Tried to write some bloody lines without that bastard's bloody rhymes, but once again, no bloody joy because of Mark Cooper's bloody boy. Bloody failure, bloody hell, still can't break his bloody spell. This cycle brings me bloody down. I'm stuck in bloody Chicken Town. It's not right, not bloody fair, and no one else will bloody care. I thought he was bloody best, but now he's just a bloody pest. Bloody repeat, bloody loop, I'm jumping through his bloody hoop. I'll never steal his bloody crown. I'm stuck in bloody Chicken Town. I cannot change my bloody style through bloody years and bloody miles, through bloody light and bloody dark. I'm possessed by John Cooper fucking Clark. And moving on from that, this is kind of an experimental thing, seeing as we've got Clive the Surrealist coming up shortly. I thought I'd do something a little bit unusual as well. So I wrote a pedantic love poem, and it goes like this. Their eyes didn't meet, like two lost kittens desperate for shelter and companionship. It was more like two flies orbiting the same turd, if truth be known. And whilst they were both smitten within a short time, sparks, lightning and thunder were all absent from their first touch, replaced as they were by alcohol, ketamine and too many dirty beats in a grotty club. Their fate wasn't written in crayon, let alone far-off globes of incandescent gases, nor whispered by so much as a sly fart, the type known to skills children the length and breadth of the country as silent but violent, let alone by the wind as measured by the Beaufort scale. His nose was less chiselled, more dynamited, and her cheeks were the texture and mottled hues of a pomegranate rather than the more poetic peach. When they kissed, worlds totally failed to collide, apart from those that would have bounced off their neighbour anyway. The rest carried on spinning and crossing the same reaches of space again and again and again. Her eyes, murky blue and slightly bugged as they kissed and hugged, bore no resemblance to limpid pools of crystal clear water, at least not ones you would want to drink out of. And the gods didn't know their names and didn't trouble them in their games of import, but still, they were in love. Now, this was a last-minute change to my set, purely because we were talking about taxis and someone said I ought to write something about being a taxi driver. And this one's called Voices from the Back Seat of a Grotty Skoda minicab. What time do you start today? My fella's crap in bed. We're off to town to see a play. Don't mind him, he's off his head. I've only got a fiver. Are you sure this is the way? How long have you been a driver then? My dad just passed away. So what time do you finish, mate? How much to Swindon Centre? Hurry up, I'm running late. Check this out, mate, I'm an inventor. Me going to be a DJ, blood. I'm off to see me mum. We caught a tench, some roach and rudd. I can't make my girlfriend come. Right, mate, I'm feeling sick. I can't wait to get in bed. My husband, he's a fucking prick. We're off to buy a shed. If I'm late again, I'll get the sack. I'm going to kill myself tonight. Don't worry, mate, it's only crack. It's this one here, next on the right. We're visiting our dying son. How much if I suck your cock? Which team do you think is number one? My mate's just lost her sock. I need a cash point on the way. I hope that I'll get lucky. So what do you think I should say? You gonna come inside and fuck me? Do you think I should tell her? Have you always done this job? How long until we get there? My boss is such a knob. My kid's just puked his guts up. I used to be a spy. We're gonna win the FA Cup. I've just been told I've got 6 months until I die. A million backseat voices telling tales till journey's end, to the unknown taxi driver, everybody's secret friend, who would never tell a single soul what he's heard along the way. At least, that's what the fairs all thought. And it was true until today. And I promise you, on my soul, every single one of those are actual things that were said to me. So this brings me to my final poem, a slightly longer piece, and one that is available in this here fine book written by a certain Mr. N.J. Lovell.
Yeah.
Called Ever Since the Accident, published by Black Eyes Publishing UK, and is available on Amazon, or if you drop me a message on Facebook or even in the chat here, we can sort all that out. And just a simple, for tonight only, if you buy them off me, £8, not 10. But don't tell Peter, he's not listening at the moment. I'm sure he's not.
No, taking them out.
Right, this final poem, or well, I'm never actually sure if it's a poem, a letter of complaint, or a sad reflection on my faith in advertising. It's called The Jinx Effect. Dear Sir / Madam / Miss / Ms. I am writing to complain about either the veracity of your advertising campaign or the quality of your range of underarm deodorant products available in my area. Since your range of products were released over 25 years ago, I have purchased 17,526 cans of the various aromas you offer, based upon your advertising campaigns indicating that I merely need to apply one small spray of any of your wide range of products to my body to precipitate a veritable storm of beautiful women filled with desire as a result of sensing the aromatic bouquets that you have created and I have purchased. It is my sad duty to inform you that not one of the cans I've purchased over the past 2.5 decades has functioned as advertised and has not resulted in so much as a smile from any females at all, let alone the beautiful women depicted in your advertising campaigns. Not a bloody sausage. At first, I thought this lack of response from the opposite sex may have something to do with the amount applied. As a result, I've increased the amount I apply over the intervening years to see if this does actually have any effect. I currently apply approximately 1 can per day per armpit. And the only effects I've noticed so far have been a certain lightheadedness for an hour or so after completing my toilet and a mildly painful rash. After several more lonely years, I also considered the application methods and remote locations shown in your adverts, and have to report that having travelled to every beach currently reachable by car, rail, boat, plane, submarine and helicopter in the inhabited world, not a single girl approached me, unless you count the female lifeguard who interrupted my experiment on Bondi Beach to advise me that my interpretation of the ninja-like moves essayed by the male model whilst applying deodorant in one of your television commercials was disturbing people. I'm also disappointed to note the large wooden ark I've built in my back garden has yet to attract so much as one short, dark and ugly munter, let alone streams of blonde goddesses coming for me 2 by 2. Whilst it has gained me some attention, being named Noah on the front page of my local paper was not quite the result your adverts led me to expect. I noticed with interest your campaign intimating that your products were assistance in locating hitherto undiscovered tribes of Amazonian beauties with a propensity to remove their underclothes to signify their approval of my choice of sachet. I have therefore spent what free time I've had over the last 7 years, what with building a bloody ark and searching for that sodding beach, trekking across the world's vast wildernesses, and as a result can advise you that despite attracting millions of biting insects, flies, scorpions, snakes and one over-amorous brown bear, your various products fail to attract one single woman or even any married ones. Therefore, it was with relief that I viewed the adverts announcing the release of your His and Hers range of fragrances. This advert clearly demonstrated that these 2 new additions to your range are suitable for use in the urban environment, and thus I purchased a case of the His variety and applied 2 cans of said range to each armpit. Once I was able to stand again and leave the house, I set off through town centre, anticipating a wave of vehicular carnage with swarms of female volleyball teams tearing themselves free from the apocalyptic wreckage of myriad team buses, all overwhelmed with desire for me. Sadly, the only vehicular mishap to occur as a result of my use of your product was due to the dizziness following my over-application of the spray. In my disorientated state, I staggered into the road and was struck by a lorry. Undeterred, I applied my reserve can to my body whilst in the ambulance and can now happily report that at last, after 25 years, 17,526 cans of your product, thousands of miles of travel, hundreds of miles of trekking, countless insect, fly, spider, scorpion and snake bites, one arc, one bear mauling and one life-threatening road traffic accident, there's finally been a result. One of the nurses on duty in the intensive care unit has asked me for a date once my legs heal and I can walk again. His name is Steve. Thank you very bloody much indeed. Thank you very much indeed. I've been Nick Lovell. You guys have been amazing.
Oh, wonderful. Let's keep it going a little bit longer for Nick Lovell. Buy his book if you can. Thank you.